What's up guys, this is Heat with the Talisman League coming to an end and the Ascendancy expansion right around the corner. I thought I would do a build guide for the last build that I used in the Hardcore Talisman League, which reached level 90, that I call Blade Inferno. And it's essentially a Righteous Fire with Blade Vortex supported by Iron Will build. This build was a manifestation of a failed build idea that I was able to salvage. In the beginning, the idea was an off-the-wall Facebreaker's Cyclone build with RF and Crown of Eyes. Then I also tried cast on melee kill with Facebreaker's Cyclone, but my ideas didn't jive well because of how they function mechanically in terms of prioritizing damage. Essentially, one source of damage would monopolize another and would negatively affect the synergies that needed to happen in order for the builds to be effective. But since I didn't want a level 80 character to go to waste, I quickly threw together some ideas that ultimately became the Blade Inferno build. It was actually more successful than anticipated. That being said, this build will spawn quite quickly, and I didn't give it much thought to min-maxing like I normally do. And some of my gear is probably not optimized, but I hope this idea will give you some inspiration and different perspectives into build possibility. The gameplay is pretty straightforward for this build. One component is activating Righteous Fire, which will require high life regen and a very high fire res. This is usually done at the start of a zone and generally requires no other management or engagement with the skill for the duration of the zone. Another source of damage is self-casting Blade Vortex, which is supported by Iron Will, meaning strength will increase its spell damage. Blade Vortex is duration based, so having high duration from the skill tree and support gem is important in sustaining a high Blade Vortex count. I felt that on average you want to sustain around 20 for strong damage output. Both skills also have a damage boost from generating 4 frenzy charges. Because the AoE on both spells are quite small and the damage quote-unquote sticks to the character, it ultimately has the same playstyle like a melee build, meaning you need to be close to produce damage. Additionally, due to AoE being so small, movement speed in this case plays a larger role in clear speed and DPS. When thinking about clearing efficiently with this build, it boils down to having strong pathing from pack to pack, making good use of your Quicksilver Flask, and knowing when to cast Blade Vortex. Is it during pack engagement, before pack engagement, etc. Defensively, this build runs 5 Endurance Charges, Enduring Cry, and a cast on damage taken setup with Immortal Cry and Enfeeble. I wanted to work in Fortify for more mitigation, so I used a shield charge setup that procs Fortify. The hit detection and mechanic of shield charge is finicky, so you have to be overly precise for Fortify to proc. It also has a whopping 7,000 armor rating, 20,000 with granite, 900 life regen, and 87 fire res to mitigate the damage taken from using Righteous Fire. I run 2 auras, Hatred to increase the damage of Blade Vortex, and Purity of Fire to further increase the max cap on fire res. Although Ascendancy has now been released, if I were to play this build in the Ascendancy expansion with the newly announced changes, I would definitely use the reworked Quartz Flask as it provides a lot of utility and defenses which greatly benefit the playstyle of this build. I will do a brief overview of my gear. If you want to take a more in-depth look at my gear, check out the description for a link to the Path of Exile forums. In terms of my non-unique gear, the general theme is high life, some sort of strength roll, resistances, some decks to cover the requirements of Blade Vortex, with secondary priority stats being flat mana and mana regeneration to help with the cost of Blade Vortex. For my weapon, I went with Dune Kobiari, a strongly designed niche unique that is powerful at enabling Iron Will builds. Rising the Phoenix was used because of the 8% to max fire res stat, which mitigates a large portion of the damage taken from Righteous Fire. Blood Dance Boots, which have stats that synergize well offensively and defensively, like gaining frenzy charges on kill for more damage and life regeneration. In this case, it was 2% life regen. So let's take a look at my links for Righteous Fire. I have Righteous Fire, increased burning damage, conk effect, and increased area of effect. This is all about you can run for Righteous Fire. When we take a look at Blade Vortex, we have Blade Vortex, Controlled Destruction, Spell Echo, Iron Will, added fire damage, and increased duration. I will add a link for the skill tree in the description, but the general theme is high life, life regen, endurance charges, and strength. We have a total of 4 jewel sockets, which are socketed with jewels that focus on percent to max life, area damage, and one other utility like mana regeneration. Potency of Will and Exceptional Performance were also picked up to increase the duration of Blade Vortex. There weren't many passives chosen to directly increase the damage of Righteous Fire, with the exception of Arsonist and Amplify. If you want to use this build for Ascendancy, I would theorize that the Chieftain is probably the most powerful choice, with Juggernaut being a second alternative. I hope you guys enjoyed the build, and it hopefully inspired some build ideas. Thanks for watching.